Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Kamen Rider Revi and Kamen Rider Vice Rex Genome set from the new Revice Remix figure line from Bandai. So apparently this is what's replacing RKF. We had RKF the past 3 years for Geo01, and then about halfway through Saber just kind of went quietly into the night, never to be seen or heard from again. So they didn't really announce anything, they just kind of stopped making figures. Didn't even finish out the year, which is kind of a bummer. I would have liked to at least see them finish out. So the later forms for Saber just didn't get figures, which is kind of a bummer. But now we're back to individualistic gimmick lines for riders. And because obviously they have the remix forms, that's the big gimmick this year. You can see Revi, you can see Vice, and of course they're forming the giant Rex here, featured on the front of the box here, right in the middle. So I guess this is just it. This is what we're doing from now on. I'm sure these will probably scale decently with RKF figures, and we'll check that out a little bit later on. The packaging's very bright, very fun. You have a little window here. You can see the two figures again, of course, advertising the Rex form here in the middle. You know, you have the general Revice color scheme going on here with kind of the blue and the pink. Not too much going on the bottom. Over here on this side, you can see the two figures. Over on this side, you can see, I guess, just them with some weapons, it looks like, which is pretty cool. Up here on the top, Revice Remix figure. And then it just kind of shows the two figures mid-transformation, and then boom, you have the Rex form. So, we'll see. Hopefully it holds together pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and get everything out of the box here, and we'll take a closer look. So here are the two figures out of the packaging, and I have to admit, they look pretty good. Really nice metallic paint throughout. Really looks sharp. The head sculpt looks great. They painted the lines on the teeth all the way back, which is not something I can say for his vinyl figure. So he's got a hinge. He can look all the way up. He can look all the way down. Spin side to side. You have a ball joint here in the shoulder, and it kind of pops out kind of easily. But you can always pop it right back in. He's got a little bit of a butterfly joint. Now really it's because they needed the arms to come together for the mouth of the T-Rex, but it is articulation that you can use. He has a hinge here for the shoulder pad so it doesn't get in the way. Now he doesn't have a bicep swivel, but he's got two swivels here at the elbow. So there's one up top, and then there's actually one down here as well, plus the hinge for the elbow. So a lot of nice articulation there. He's got a hand swivel. He does come with an alternate set of hands. Vice does as well. You have a ball joint here in the torso. You can see the drivers molded in purple plastic, but all the detail is there. So if you want to customize it, you can paint it. Kicks pretty far forward. Kicks pretty far out to the side. Doesn't really have a thigh swivel, but there is kind of a movement ability there in the hip. You have nice bend, I would say over 90 degrees. You have a swivel as well, and then you have a ball joint in the ankle. So really nice articulation, really nice paint applications. Got a little bit of a backpack here for the T-Rex, kind of flips out. But it really just compacts nicely. It doesn't really get in the way. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Honestly, it's a pretty nice little figure. Now, you can see that the shoulders can go down and look kind of weird, but you just kind of have to, because there is a hinge as well. So there's a hinge, and there's a ball joint in the shoulder, and then there's a hinge actually in the arm. So you have a lot of movement there. You got a lot of movement, but you just kind of push it back in, and he looks normal. But yeah, he's a good-looking figure. I think he looks really good. Vice also looks really good. Doesn't have as much metallic paint, but still looks pretty sharp. I think the head sculpt looks nice and is nicely painted. You get the little purple there for the eyes of the T-Rex. You got the snout. You get the teeth. Vice's eyes painted very nice. This is just kind of a general ball joint here, but you get a lot of nice range of motion. He's a little hindered by his scarf. You have a ball joint for this scarf piece back here, so you can move that around a little bit. He does not have the butterfly joint. He's just got a ball joint in the shoulder, but still good. This is on a hinge. You can swivel this piece around if you need to. So you can get nice range of motion there. This is going to be the T-Rex hand, so you can kind of move that around as you'd like. He's got the hinge and the movement in the elbow as well. He's got wrist swivel, and he does come with an alternate set of hands as well. Ball joint there. You can kind of kick forward, kick out to the side. Again, not really a thigh joint, but just kind of have some nice movement there. Again, a little bit over 90 degrees, and you have a swivel as well, and then ball joint in the ankle. So all in all, I think he looks good. Just a tad less articulation than Revi, but still really good. And then he's got a hinge back here for the tail. So very cool. I like it a lot. I think they both look good. I think you can get a lot of nice poses out of them. Nice paint applications. All in all, they look pretty sharp, I gotta admit. Now, again, they do come with some alternate hands. They each have an open set of hands. So here's for Vice. And then here is for Revi. And all you do is pop one out, pop the other one in. The connectors are very similar to RKF. I feel like these were kind of built on the bones of RKF because they have a lot of similarities, but they're not 100% the same. But here is RKF Gates, just because that's who I had around. You can see they're pretty similar in size. If I stand him up a little bit more so he's not as wide stanced, I would say that they're pretty much the same size. So I think they scale well, which is nice. So I'm glad they didn't make these like an extra inch taller or anything like that. So they really should scale with your RKF figures pretty well. They do come with 2 versions of the Oren Buster 50. Now, I'll be honest, they look almost identical to me. I really can't tell. One's a little bit more compact, it seems, but they're pretty close. I mean, if we line these up, you can see that the blade's a little bigger over here, and this is like a little bit more compact. I have to assume the one with the larger blade is the axe version, and this is supposed to be the gun version. But I mean, honestly, you could use them as either. So, I don't know, maybe just give Revi the bigger one and give Vice the sidekick the little smaller one. I don't know. They look almost identical. I'll be quite honest. Really, the size of the blade down here is the only thing that's different. I mean, you can tell there's subtle molding differences, and it's a little bit smaller. But it's really, really very similar. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll get into this goofy thing. So basically, you're going to start by pulling off the knee pads, and there's a little peg hole in the top of the toe, and you're going to just peg them onto there. And you kind of just have to line it up, and it's at a weird angle, so it takes some getting used to. But you're going to pop this off, and then you're going to peg this onto the toes here to give him some big old T-Rex feet. Then you're going to kind of put him in a little bit of a squat position, like so. And then we'll leave that for now. We're going to take Revi. He's got these tiny little spots, these little pegs that flip out of his thighs. They're pretty well hidden. Honestly, if they were pink instead of purple, I feel like they would be very well hidden. And I'm not sure why they have to be a different color, but it's not a big deal. But they just pop out like that. So you're going to take these 2 pegs on his knees and peg them into the holes in the bottom of his feet. So we're going to peg that in there, and this is going to peg in here. Okay, so that's pegged in. Now you kind of have to, and this is just where it gets weird. So you're going to bend this forward and kind of bend this down. So you want that to be kind of as close as possible because you don't want a lot of space. And I think that the front of his helmet here is kind of meant to like line up and not quite peg in there, but there's the little like screw hole spot on his butt. And I think that's supposed to kind of rest in there. It's not 100%, but it kind of works. Now he's got little holes on the inside of his forearms, which are supposed to peg in here. So you're going to bring the arm up, line that up, and then that should peg in to his wrists. It's a little difficult to line up, but it can be done. Okay, he's not wanting to cooperate. Come on, get on there, you. There we go. It makes a nice audible snap. And then you can kind of bring the T-Rex hand around. So let's get this one. Let's do the same. And the nice thing about this is it really does hold it together much better than I expected, because you have these really nice clips and pegs. If I can actually get it pegged in. I don't know why I have so much difficulty with this. I think it's just trying to do it in front of the camera. I'm going to get this done and then I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I got the wrist pegged onto the two pegs that come out of his thighs. You can kind of position the T-Rex hands how you would like. These pieces are going to flip out just to kind of fill some negative space. You're going to want to line up the scarf and the tail so that it kind of makes like a complete T-Rex tail down here. Then you're going to try to bring the arms together. Okay, that just completely came off of there. So this comes together. This is going to flip up and around. You want to make sure the head fits through the hole. And then you're going to bring this down, and that's going to kind of become the eyes of the T-Rex. And then you just want to kind of position the hands. I like to try to put them together almost like one fits inside the other, but you just kind of position this to be the mouth of the T-Rex, and then I have to put this back onto the body here. There we go. And then it's just kind of like finding the right angle for everything, but this is essentially it, and it's real dumb. And I don't fault the figure, because the figure is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. This is exactly what it looks like on the show. I just think these remix forms are kind of dumb and bad. I think the T-Rex is probably the most successful, and that's not saying much. But, you know, that kind of looks like, if I look at it from far away, it kind of looks like a T-Rex and not just one guy sniffing another guy's butt. But when you really look at it, that is what it is. So it's weird. It kind of works. And I'm sure if I got like a better angle with the feet and put him in more of a crouched position, you know, this could line up a little better. But I'm just, you know, I'm not going to worry with it, because it's just, no matter what you do, it still looks kind of ridiculous. And, you know, I just think these remixes don't work. I mean, we have ones coming out later on this month, or maybe next month. They're doing a 2-pack for the Falcon and the Megalodon. I don't think either of those two are any more successful. In fact, I think the Falcon is one of the worst ones, but yeah, I don't know. So I don't know how many more of these I'm going to be getting, but we'll see how it goes. It holds together well. Like, I will say, it holds together a lot better than I thought it was going to. I mean, yes, the torso popped off, but it pegged right back in. But the fact that the thighs peg into the wrists and the feet peg into the knees, or the thighs up here, actually holds it together pretty decently. But it still looks really dumb, and it's very top heavy. It's very hard to get him to stand because he's got all of his weight. You know, it's not balanced well. But yeah, there he is. So as individual figures, I think they look good. I mean, they look like how they're supposed to look. Good paint applications, good articulation. They're nice figures. They come with nice accessories. You get an extra set of hands for each. Now, I will admit, the two versions of the Oren Buster 50 look pretty much identical, but one has the blade of the axe a little bit accentuated for the axe mode, and then the gun mode's a little bit more compact. But for the most part, they're almost identical. But I mean, they have one, so if you want to display each character with one, you know, you have two, which is nice. And again, I mentioned they each get an extra set of hands. So I think they're good figures. They scale well with RKF. They even have a little bit more articulation than RKF. So I don't think they're bad figures. Now, when it comes to the T-Rex combination mode, I don't blame the toy. That's what it looks like on the show. The toy has replicated it here well. It holds together well because you have the pegs for the wrist into the thigh and then the feet into the knees. I think that all works really well. It is a little top heavy, but I feel like there's no way to avoid that. You literally have one figure hanging off the front of the other figure, and he's in a weird squat position, so it's not going to be balanced very well. It's just not really a way to avoid that. So I personally don't really care for the remix form, but that's just me. I haven't liked the design since I've seen them on the show. We have the Hawk and the Megalodon coming up. I don't think they look any better. So the remix forms just aren't for me. But if you're just looking for a good Revi and Vice figure, they're here. These are good figures. Like, just on their own, standalone figures, I think they look good. And like I said, they will scale with your RKFs, which is nice. I just think the whole remix thing, just the designs don't work for me. If you love it, and great, it'll do it, and it holds together well. So again, I don't blame the figure at all. I don't like the designs, but that comes from the show. So these are two good figures. I'm glad I picked them up because I just have a good, Revi and Vice figure here to put with my RKF collection. So I like that. I don't know how many more of these I'm going to be buying. I'll be quite honest with you. If they do the other riders that we've seen, I'll get them. But I wouldn't be surprised if they don't, because they don't really fit the remix theme. So only time will tell with that. But I think I'm going to get at least the next set, because like I said, it's just kind of armor to put on these figures. So I don't think it's like I have to rebuy new figures every time. So it shouldn't be too expensive. So I might try one more set. But if that's really terrible, I might just stop with these. Because Soto apparently is doing these as well this year. They're also going to be able to do the forms. So this line is kind of not necessary. But I wanted to at least get the first one, because I do have all the RKF figures. And I at least wanted these two guys to scale with them. And luckily they do. So, like I said, might try one more. But then I might just leave it to Soto after that. But if they do the individual riders, like any new actual characters in this line, I'll probably get, again, to scale with the RKFs I already have. But only time will tell on that. So the figures are good. I think the combination is dumb, but I think the figure does the combination as well as it possibly could, if that makes sense. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.